My name is Elijah B. Stevens. I hold the rank of Captain, U.S. Army, retired. My MOS is 66 Hotel/66 Papa. I retired 11/2014. The podcast lamp is lighted on the 04 level aft.
All right. Hey, everybody. Jay Beck here, along with my co-host,
Jonathan Lunsford.
I recently spelled his last name wrong, and I'm continuously hearing about it, but I apologize. It's fat fingers. Thanks for tuning in to our third episode of 04 Level Aft, 1, 2, 3. We just got done having a great conversation with an old shipmate of ours, Norm Nored.
Yep.
Good guy. Very good guy.
Pleasant episode. Didn't know where it was going to go, and it was fantastic. I enjoyed it.
It's awesome. Today is Thursday, September 26th, the year of our Lord 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
this won't come out for a few days though.
Time is going fast, man.
Listen, I got out of the Navy 21 years ago yesterday.
Congratulations. Well, if you stayed in, wow. You old fart, salty dog.
My dad called me and said, "You left for the Navy 28 years ago yesterday."
Dude, that's crazy.
You did not have to say that.
Right.
You didn't have to say that.
Some things are left unsaid. Mean and hurtful. That kind of stuff I think is mean and hurtful.
Unnecessary. Completely. So,
well, anyway, we served together in Lake Champlain from 99 to 03, all of us, all three of us, yeah. Because Norm was actually in my C school, and we had some good times in C school, and then we had the pleasure of serving on the Lake Champlain together too, side by side, and actually in the same division as well. So
same work center, right? Y'all were in the same work center.
Yep. Radar 1, right above Radar 2. That's where Bruce Taylor worked. Radar 2. Good old Bruce.
If you're listening to this and you know Norm, you will be both. Yeah, of course, this is Norm, and surprised. I believe he's changed. He has matured in his elder ages.
That's an understatement. I love Norm. I always have. He in our podcast, he said I was his nemesis. Yeah, we butt heads, but I've always loved Norm. He's a very smart individual, very smart individual, and he did what I thought he was going to do. You know, I knew that he was probably going to make a life out of it, and he did really well for himself. So, but I hope you guys really, really like this episode. He's got a lot of good information.
Yep,
a lot of good information. And
before we get into it, though,
sure.
YouTube, 04 Level Aft on YouTube and Facebook. Follow us on those.
Yes.
There is the feature in this, depending on where you're listening to this podcast at, there's the ability to leave comments. If you would leave us a comment leave a review, I should say. There's ability to leave a review and leave one, even if it's bad. I don't care. Give us the stars that you think we deserve. And what this will do is it'll get it out and get this kind of information out. Because today was heartfelt and fun, and but we actually got through some information, and you never know, you liking it and you giving us a star may give one veteran an opportunity to get some information that he or her did not know they could get. So
absolutely
do that. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Without further ado, here we go. Enjoy the episode, guys.
It's cool, man. So how you doing?
Doing well, man. Super jazzed. I finally got a job that I like, but yeah, life is grand.
So how long were you in the Navy for? What did you end up doing, 20?
No, I did 20, just shy of 23. So picked up 8, and I was like, I'm going to ride out. I'm going to go to shore duty and ride that out. And I wish I had got out at 20 because I freaking loved it at 20. By the end of 23, because I was a craft master instructor teaching LCAT crews how to operate. Super stressful. Wasn't what I expected. And I was bitter by the end of it, to say the least.
So is that FC work, or is that just kind of one of them in the middle thing?
So the LCAC program is like a special program, so you apply for it. It used to just be source rates like quartermasters, boatswain mates, and then they couldn't find enough talent in the fleet because I mean you have to be fairly skilled to drive or to do the engineering seat as well as navigators. So they opened it up, and I'd happened to gotten myself in some trouble in when was that? 2009.
No,
And surprise.
not
But,
Normie.
so my choices were kind of limited, and I had gotten picked up for this billet out in, I think it was in somewhere in Texas, but it'd been like 2 years, 11 months since I went to MAST, and they're like, we can't take you. It hasn't been 3 years. And luckily, my CMC is like, Norm, you should go do LCACs. I did it for 25 years. I was like, and I knew what an LCAC was in the general sense, but I had no idea what it really was. 40 foot by 80 foot, 4 gas turbines, 16,000 horsepower.
Golly.
So, but yeah, in hindsight, man, I was there for 7 years, man. It was a good ride.
Awesome.
Except
So, Norm,
your face stopped moving when you were talking. I was like, oh,
that's pretty funny.
how is he doing that?
Ventriloquism.
So, Norm, you where are you from originally?
So I was.
Is it okay if we call you Norm? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yuma.
Born Yuma, Arizona.
Okay.
Did kind of till like junior high is where we finished up, and then we moved to a town called Ehrenberg. It's like a 1 stop sign town.
Right.
It was awesome there. We lived about 2 miles from the Colorado River, so spent a lot of time down there as teenagers, just swimming and getting in trouble. But yeah, then went back to Yuma to go to school after high school, and fast tracking to prison, hanging with the wrong people, doing all the wrong stuff. And luckily, my girlfriend, we'd been broken up for a couple of months, but she called me. She's like, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh, is it mine? Like logical questions. I mean, we had a questionable relationship, and I'm not trying to cast her in a bad light because she gave me a beautiful daughter. But yeah, I was like, I got to get my crap together, man. Let's. So I went to the recruiter and said, everybody chooses the Air Force first, right?
Yeah.
That's the logical place, My dad told me never go in the Army. He was the Vietnam Army guy. So the Navy guy's like, I can get you out of here in 2 weeks. I was like, that's the plan, man. So took the ASVAB, crushed it, and that's where that started.
Right. And then so when was that? What year did you join?
So yeah, I pissed away about a year of my life. 96 is when I graduated, and then 97 is when my Navy journey began.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty funny story. So I was always kind of a little fat dude, and when I first joined it, I went to like MEPS. Like I was in standards, and then as I was waiting to go to boot camp and all the other stuff, I forget what it's called, but I ended up like gaining weight. So I was out of standards when I went back. So had the going away party, the whole shebang, and then 2 days later I'm back because I was out of standards. Had to get into standards. They're like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm fat."
Well,
Yeah.
some things have happened.
Oh my God! It's like, I told that story 1,000 times, man. It's heartbreaking.
Well, you were always super fit on the ship, so I guess something clicked in your head.
Yeah, I figured out if some people eat to live, I live to eat. So you have to find something, something to counter that craving. So that's what I figured out.
Well, so I remember one of the many stories that I have of you. I remember a conversation that we were having CSMC one time where. No.
You're good, man. I'm just putting you guys in the middle.
A conversation that we had in CSMC one time, we were talking about drinking or something, and you'd said that you don't drink because there's too many carbs in beer, and that you only drink whiskey. And and that's the first time I ever heard anybody say that. I'm like, so you were taking it realistically. People who are no beer, only drink whiskey they're taking their weight serious or paying attention. So that was obvious that was a concern for you.
It seems counterintuitive, but yeah, I mean, even in my fittest days, like I barely passed the weigh-in just because of my body size.
Yeah.
Years later, I don't know how long you guys stayed in, but they changed some things around, and it was like super easy after that. Like they changed one rule to where they measure it, like the tip of your hip, like where your hip goes, and I'm like built like a gorilla, so mine's like halfway on my side. So it worked out really well. But yeah, it was always a struggle, you know, PRTs coming around and kind of freaking out because you don't want to get kicked out, man. I liked what I did.
Yeah. So you joined and you went through FC school and you became, I believe, 86 tech, correct?
Yeah, I was 86 tech on the Lake Champlain. That's me and Jay hanging out together.
Went through C school together in San Diego.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's where we
really? I
That was
didn't
a
started.
good time. Oh yeah,
Were y'all in the same class in C school?
in the
Yeah.
same barracks.
Same,
Cool.
same.
Didn't
Look
know
what
that.
I just
barracks.
grabbed. Look what I just found, Norm.
Oh no.
Oh, jeez. See,
Who
look
is
at
that?
that rip.
Who is that cat?
Jamin Barnes.
Jamin, that's
Barnes
right.
Norm.
He loved to rap. I remember that. He was a rapper.
I ran into him a couple years ago.
Did you?
Man,
Where?
I think he's like a producer or something. He
That
was doing well.
that
It was down
actually
at the
makes
beach.
sense. That makes sense. Yeah,
He
Norm
was
and I and a couple other buddies. When it was lunchtime, we used to go to the beach, boogie board. I was there when he stepped on a stingray. That was hilarious.
Jeez.
Remember that?
Yeah, that my foot swelled up so big that we couldn't get my boot back on. So I came like with a tennis shoe on, and the instructors we're all thinking we're gonna get in trouble for going to the beach because we're supposed to be doing like organized PT or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, it was like took my foot out, and it was like a basketball. Like, what the hell happened to you? I'm like, oh, we're at the beach. Like, oh, okay, whatever. We don't care about that.
All I heard was "woohoo!" I looked over, his foot was in the air.
I was walking on water. Something got me. Yeah.
So you did pretty good. It killed a crocodile guy. So you're pretty strong, huh?
Jeez, yeah. If it got me in the chest like it got him, I think I'd be doomed.
That's crazy.
Let me ask you a question, Norm. How many ships have you been on?
I was on the Lake Champlain, and then I went to El Centro because my daughter lived in Yuma with her mom.
Gotcha.
And I was like, that'll be a logical place. I did 95-45 out there, physical security. And then, at the end of that, you're like at almost, 9-10 years. But while I was there, I hated it so much. That's when they were doing like the IAs, and the Army was undermanned.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this. My LPO called me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to go to Kuwait for 9 months?" I was like, "Yeah." Left in 72 hours. Went and trained with the Army. Make you a killer, and then flew out to Kuwait. Was there for 9 months. Came back, and same stuff. Like, so I'm out on patrol. Like I'm an FC in an MA world, so I'm already like the bastard stepchild. Like there was no, and I'm already at this point. I've said I'm going to do this forever, and my evals were like peas. I just got back from Kuwait. Like I'm out at the tip of the spear, and I'm a P for evals, and then so I was back for about a month and a half, and they had another IA. There's like a year tour in Iraq, and I was like, yeah, send me. So that's a funny story as well. My security officer, who did not care for me, surprisingly, due to maybe my mouth or my outspoken ways. So he's like, you're crazy. And so he sent me the chaplain for like a psych eval. And so sat down with the chaplain, and I just walked him through it. I was like, I'm trying to find the best way to be, competitive for advancement and for my family. So I'm going to do this for at least 20 years. And I was like, I hate working here so much. I'd rather go over there. And he actually went back to the security officer and told him that. He said, there's nothing wrong with this guy. He's just so miserable working for you that he'd rather go to war. And he followed up with me. I think this is like the beginning of cell phone. So he called me, and he's like, I think you're going to be able to go, Norm. Appreciate your candid discussion, and I told your security officer what you thought about it. So made me feel good. But yeah,
That's pretty.
And we did prison stuff out in Iraq, like northern Iraq, kind of north, like 80 miles northeast of Kirkuk. So that was a culture shock, getting there. There's a couple of feet of snow on the ground, and you're like, I thought I was going to the desert, mind blown.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, prison work.
So basically, you went from being a sailor, obviously out to sea, to basically boots on the ground / Army, but you're in the Navy.
I was still a sailor over there, just
right.
yeah, but I was playing Army stuff. Really cool experience, man, just to understand what those guys do as well.
Right.
So were you combat, or were you there as a support, or were you in the middle of it, or
going to a war zone? Like everybody's that's trained for combat.
Mhm.
The first like 6 months we were there, I worked in like a cell block with bad guys, not guys that were at the wrong place or wrong time. These were legit bad guys. And as we kind of started clearing the prison out, is because we were going to turn it over to the Kurds. So one of my buddies that came with me from El Centro put me on convoy. So I was his driver running a gun truck, but luckily never ever had to shoot at anybody. I mean, we aimed, and like it was a split second between killing a human. And I feel blessed now, because the horror stories I hear from veterans is, everybody wants to be a gangster till it's time to do gangster stuff. And,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you work with veterans now, though, right?
Yep, I'm a veterans service officer. I can't tell you where I work for, but what a veteran service officer does is can give you claim advice, submit compensation claims. The organization I work for, or the state that I work for, does veterans homes. We help surviving spouses after the veteran dies with burial, anything that they're eligible for. Pretty much the whole gamut, from education to grave, essentially. And it doesn't cost anything. So plug for any veterans out there, whatever state you're in, there's some sort of Department of Veteran Services, and use them first. They're paid by tax dollars. These leeches out here that are charging veterans to submit claims on their behalf, it's not worth it. Do it for free, and then if you're not happy, pay somebody to do it. But try the free route first.
Would it behoove a veteran to go to the VA hospital, or?
So when you're talking about the VA, healthcare is one branch of the VA. Compensation and pension is a completely separate branch. So when you're talking about healthcare, absolutely have them. I think Biden, one of the good things that he did was he opened up healthcare to all the Vietnam guys, all of the desert. The Gulf War is from 1990, and in 1990 to present, right? Like we're still fighting skirmishes over. So they opened up healthcare to all those guys. It used to be based on income, or if you had a service-connected condition, but everybody that's been over there has, even ship guys. So us Navy yahoos that are stuck on ships are eligible as well.
So this wasn't one of my questions, but I got a question for you. When I got out of the Navy, they told me that I had zero VA support. That basically don't ever ask you. They looked at my records and said, "You're okay. Goodbye. Have a good day. Don't ever call, because we're never going to give you anything." So are you saying that maybe not so much now?
If you think about, so when did you get out?
2003.
I mean, you could
21 years ago yesterday.
Think about how little prepared you were. And I don't know, Jay, when did you get out?
Same thing. 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's more just like when the guys were coming back from Vietnam, like they're getting spit on, and veterans, and they got zero support. Through 2003, it was about probably midway, and now we're at the polar opposite end of that. Like, veterans are awesome, and we're going to do all this stuff for them.
Yeah, you see
it. To answer your question is, make an appointment with me. We'll go over anything that happened in service, right? Because that's the first part of a VA claim. Is the first piece of the puzzle is an in-service injury or an event. An injury is obvious, right? You fell down a ladder back, broke your leg, or twisted your ankle. An event would be something like engaging the enemy in combat, sexual trauma, something that's impacted your mental health. Piece two of the puzzle is a current diagnosed chronic condition. So let's use your left ankle, John. You're coming down from Radar 1 after getting some mail, and you slid down the ladder back, twisted your ankle. Fast forward to today, your ankle's hurt since that time, right? So you go to the doctor and he's like, you got arthritic changes in your left ankle. So that's piece 2, is a diagnosed condition. And then piece 3 is the hardest. It's the nexus, or the link between your current chronic condition and your in-service injury. And it doesn't have to be a definitive link. It could be 51% likelihood. And that's kind of how the VA plays, is the 51% likely that your arthritic changes in that ankle are a result of that in-service injury. And those in-service injuries are recorded in your service treatment record, of course.
Right.
So one of the guys I go to church with who does similar to what you're doing, he said that if you don't have a record of complaining about it since you got out, it's really hard to prove that was done, and that is up to them to help cover that,
Time isn't on your side, but what do you have to lose? You don't have nothing.
Yeah.
You have nothing right now,
Right.
And that's what I tell people, like, let's ask for it,
Right.
If you don't ask for it, there's 100% chance you're going to get nothing, right?
Right.
So
Sure.
let's roll the dice.
So let's say there's a veteran that had an in-service injury, and he wants to begin the process of perhaps getting some entitlement from the VA.
Compensation is what.
Yeah. How do they go about doing it? What's their first step? Get a hold of you?
Yes, the VA has VSOs, but it's kind of a conflict of interest, right? Like, they're on the team that's the deciding team. So you want somebody that's going to kind of work separated from them. I don't want to say against, because we work hand in hand with the VA. There's a lot of very helpful people over there. They give you feedback. I get direct feedback, like, hey, is this what you're asking for? Because you asked for it wrong. So, but yeah, there's always a state agency that has, veteran service officers or veterans counselors. You can Google anything. So
right.
That's where I would start in that journey.
In whatever state you're in. So this is a state, or it's not that it's a state facility. It's just that each state has their own way of getting through the process.
Right. Yeah. They have trained counselors, and I've helped people from states around me. So I've seen different reviews, but your state has something like that. And then you guys, of course, can reach out to me. I'll take care of you. If a veteran calls and they're like, I'm from New York City, and I'm not going to say get a rope, like the old Ortega hot sauce ad.
New York City,
get a rope. But no, we've never turned down a veteran.
Right.
Our organization brings in about $82 million a month in federal money to veterans, and that covers veterans, homes, which is like long-term skilled nursing homes, the cemeteries, the state cemeteries, as well as all the compensation and pension dollars that we're bringing into the state.
Right.
Can't tell you the state though. Top secret.
Yeah. So we kind of got ahead of ourselves with the VA stuff, but that side. I was wondering. I remember you. There's an element of your path that you took, and you went Aegis at one point, correct?
Yeah. So when I was coming out of Iraq, and so I want to go back to '86. It's what I know. I was pretty good at it, I think.
You were very good at it.
And so I was like, hey, I want to go 86. And he's like, 86 is no more, man. I can't remember what they updated it to, but they were phasing it out, right? So they're not pushing text through that pipeline.
Really?
And yeah. I think it's the 160 system and the Spook 9 Bravo or whatever, the big radome. But so I went Aegis Fire Control, was it 1149? And I went to that school as a first class. So you can imagine like struggling through school, but now I'm coming back as a fleet returnee, first class technician, good technician, and it's kind of a breeze. But so yeah,
you went FCS. I know it's changed, but
FCACS. FCA would be like if you were back in the day, you would have been an FCA FC Aegis.
Yeah. But I mean, like on the Aegis, in the Aegis realm, you didn't do like a system school. You had an element. You went through that C school.
Yeah, I went to fire control, 1149. So just the
Okay.
fire control element, transmitters, 400 hertz converters, illuminators, all that stuff.
Orts.
Yeah, orts.
I hated orts. Orts is the worst part. I
It's
hated
still, I mean, it's all fancy. I think we still had the monochrome displays, I think, back in your day. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's all. I mean, it's all cost
yeah.
equipment now. You're just clicking on screens and running
Yeah.
internal.
Back in our day.
I couldn't imagine it now. That was, I mean, but realistically, the transmitter was like T1348, I believe.
That's correct.
Pulled that out of nowhere. Anyway, that transmitter was designed in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
And it, it was just shy of having tubes in it, and it had a TWT in it, but it didn't, like it had transistors, but it was like, I mean, that was 25 years old when I got to it. So, and if it ain't broke, it was a great transmitter. It did a lot of good stuff, but anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. I remember you. No, I remember.
Don't freak out, man.
I remember so many little components inside. I got shocked one time up underneath it because the guy that I was supposed to be with there was supposed to have the probe on the capacitor, and he let go of it, and I'm climbing out, and my elbow caught that capacitor, and I took probably 10,000 volts through the elbow out the wrist,
Jeez.
and I wasn't saying nothing because it wasn't tagged out. It wasn't anything. I'm not.
Does that happen in the military? I don't think so. Not on my watch.
Well, hey, I get on that. I can tell that story another time. But it was really cool. I enjoyed that part of my job. I enjoyed being a 400 hertz guy. I enjoyed that element. We met the guy on the Lake Champlain, the guy who designed the 400 hertz converters.
Oh, nice.
And he was a weird dude, but we enjoyed talking to him. It was kind of cool. But I enjoyed that part. And then I just knew that it wasn't for me to stay there for 20 years. I wanted to get out and stay married. And I knew that staying in was not going to be marriage forever. And so I got out, and then we just hit 24 years in July. So I'm glad I did that. So
yeah, congrats.
I made the right decision.
Yeah, but we kind of, I mean, we had our first appointment, and then September 11th, and I remember we were underway for like
2 weeks.
It
felt like a month.
What was like a year and a half over the total period?
Yeah, it was a long time.
And we'd already deployed once, and then that one. So yeah, that's a definite marriage ruiner. I think it
well,
me.
So, and even on top of that, Christina was on a ship. She was in a different battle group. So we got back from the first deployment. We had 17 days, or no, we had 28 days together, and she left. After 9/11, we got back. We had 16 days together, and then she left for 9 months. So
like the perfect marriage, right? Continuous honeymoon.
I don't think so. Like, I didn't enjoy that. It took us. We counted. It took us over 4 calendar years to add up 365 days together because of underways and stuff. So it was like, it worked out for us. It doesn't work out for very many. So
yeah, absolutely not. But Jay, you remember we hated these guys, man. These agents.
Yeah, I know. That's the awesome part.
We got all these old taped together pubs, and you got like a crescent wrench and a 120 Phillips head screwdriver, 8,000 toolbox. I got everything we need up here.
Oh yeah, especially at the end of September, you order whatever you wanted.
It was nice to be on that team for that matter, and then be able to tell the guys like, "Hey, man, the grass is greener here.
Yeah.
You got everything you need. You got electronic. They had electronic tech pubs now on big workbooks.
Oh, man.
I mean, it walks every step of every maintenance check. Like, did you tag this out? You need to tag out here, here, and here. Like, they spent good money on that system.
They did.
So what other ships were you on?
Oh, geez. I was on. So built the Samson, which is 102, built that in Maine. So I went to FC8C school, and then went to the Samson, which is getting built in Maine. So I finished up the pre-com, brought her around, and, parked in San Diego. But that was, the school was 6 months. I went home for 2 weeks, then went to up to Maine to build the Samson. And then that was 9 months, and then came home. commuted on the weekends, lived on the ship. My wife Holly lived in Imperial, California. She worked on the base there. That was the one good thing about El Centro is I tricked her into marrying me. Which
You tricked her?
She's still in denial, but yeah, it's 20. We're 20 years next year, so
Awesome.
she's still on board. But yeah, and then like I said, I just made chief, and I think it was like 4th of July 2009. I just got paid the month before, luckily, and I've been razzing this kid that it was in my division. Like I'm the CF chief, and I was picking on him, being a jerk, and was pretty drunk, and he hit me with like a full can of beer and split my wig open, and so I got exactly what I deserved. And but I got detached for cause, got in all kinds of trouble. But luckily, I didn't get kicked out. And like I said, I was getting paid, so they couldn't knock me down without court martial. So yeah, then
I always knew you'd make chief. What did you get out as?
Senior chief.
Senior chief?
Yeah, almost aligned my mouth. If I'd have made 9, then my mouth and would have been aligned with me, but I never caught it, man. Jeez. And so I got in trouble. Like I got detached for cause. Like it was a big deal. The Commodore was embarked on board. Like if you could align all the stupid stars, like they all aligned for me that night. So got detached for cause, and then geez, they flew me back. No, we were on RIMPAC. So came back, got home, and I had to go find a home. And so I called the detailer. He's like, you need to go knocking on doors, man, and see if you can find a place. And he's like, USS Dewey, DDG 105's got an opening coming up. Their CF chief just picked up LBO. So I go over there and I meet with the CMC, the CSMA, Mike Farouk is a crusty old master chief. And then Aaron Cobb's his name. He was the CF chief or the CSMM over there. So I sat down with them and said, "Hey, this is a story. Like screwed up. You know, I'm damn good at what I do. I made some poor judgments, and you look like you have an opening for me." And they kind of discussed it. It was crazy because the CMC there was the CMC in El Centro, and I'd been in a DRB with him before as a witness. Surprisingly, I wasn't part of the problem at this one, but he's like, "I remember you from somewhere," and I was like, "Oh man, I think we're at a DRB
a bad way."
And he's like, "Oh, this looks like a trend, Norm. You're screwing up." But yeah, luckily those guys gave me a home, man, and just crushed it there.
So, so you had to basically go look for another place to go, another ship. That seems so crazy to me.
Yeah, especially at the chief level, you know. I mean,
right.
But it was in San Diego, so it was a win for me. He's like, "I can get you out of Norfolk." Like they've been without a chief for a year. So he's like, "There's one in San Diego, but I don't think they'll take you." So I said, "I'll go. Who is it? Let me go talk to him."
Right.
So I went down there. Yeah, it was a good deal, man. Good ride there. The guy that got me into LCACing, Joe Gregatich, he was the CMC there. Super great leader. Took good care of me and got me in that program. But yeah, brand new ship. You know, Bath built is best built. You know, anything that comes out of Maine is super clean. But are you a Pascagoula guy?
Say again?
Are you a Pascagoula guy?
Oh, I don't know.
That's where they build ships there too, and they're usually a mess.
I don't know. I don't care. It's Mississippi. I don't know anything about that place. That's where the squirrel went berserk. But that's all I know about that.
We had a pretty good CMC on board Lake Champlain. That parachute rigger, what was his Marquis or something like that?
PRCM. He was a tough dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his
funny.
name, but
funny as hell.
He seemed dangerous.
His name is Marquis. That's a fact. I remember that. It was his first time ever on a ship. Because me and him were next to each other during the shellback thing. And I'm like, wow, you're here. That's crazy.
Hey, he's a parachute rigger. I never even knew that they had an MOS like that.
Well, they work with
Yep.
the SEALs, so.
Yeah.
Well, let me find it because I'm gonna look through my cruise book real quick. Anyway, whatever.
So Jay was my nemesis on Lake Champlain. Right?
Nemesis.
He was always like he was 2 months senior to me, right? You know what that amounts to is that
Oh yeah.
I was in the P-way for my entire career there until I picked up second, and then Jay was the P-way guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, new people would come in, and I'm like, new people would come in. So sad, man. I hated that P-way.
You were always smart. Norm, you were always smart though, man. Even in school, school, on ship, I knew you'd make E5 before I did. You know, you're just always a smart guy. Tip my hat to you. I honestly, and I told John this, I hated that job. I hated that job. I just love the guys I worked with though, man. Like Senior Chief Hagen, love that guy.
Yeah,
Bianco is okay, very hairy, but
I slept in the same aisle as Bianco. I know. That dude snored.
I saw him come out of the shower once with just nothing but a towel. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Like a
freaking chia pet.
Yeah, you ever big ogre.
Do you ever tie in with all them old guys? Do you get to talk to them or any of them? You know where they are?
I talked to Bianco a couple times. Like he was. I didn't care for him then. I thought he was kind of a suck up, but as he become a leader, like he kept us out of a lot of trouble, a lot of flack. You know, we had it pretty good up there. So I was thankful of that and kind of the leadership stuff he told me. So he's still around. He works out at the or last time I talked to him, it's been a couple of years, but he's a SEER instructor on the civilian side at SEER school.
Cool.
So yeah, and then Alcala is working for Northrop, and who else was it? Pablo. I don't know what happened to Pablo.
Octavio Oliveras.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jake Barrett.
I saw Jake on what is it? What was before Facebook?
MySpace.
MySpace. Yeah, I messaged him, but he had some weird description in his profile. You wouldn't be surprised, Jay, if you read it. But I was like, "Hey, man, how you doing? I always thought you were this way," and he never responded. So yeah, it's kind of limited, man.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that guy very much, and I mean, it was really no reason to be that way, you know. And I was pretty immature back then, and I allowed a lot of stupid things to get in the way. But so when we got married, Brian Jones wanted to come to the wedding, but he didn't have a car, so Jake brought him to the wedding, you know, in Chula Vista. And somehow in our wedding pictures, there's Jake Parrott. And I'm like, why is he in my wedding pictures? And I really hated that. But I mean,
really?
It was just weird. Like, because everybody that showed up, they brought in to the pictures. And it was just like, you know, like, I wouldn't have put him there, but I'm not like, I used to get mad about it, but it's okay now. But I used to get all
so Jake Parrott ruined John.
He didn't ruin it. He didn't ruin it. I didn't even realize that he was, dude. I didn't even realize he was in the pictures until we got him developed and they all came in. I'm like, oh man, why was that guy there? But
I just picture Jake. I just picture Jake in the background, just drinking, just staring at people.
Yeah.
There was yeah. What about what's that senior chief that you're always looking for, Jay? What was his name?
Graham Hagen.
Yeah, you ever hear about that?
Chief Hagen.
I think I messaged him about the same time as Jake, or it's probably when I made chief, because he was a damn good leader, and he was so smart
as hell. Yep.
And when I read his description of like what he's into, you wouldn't be surprised either. But yeah, he was a cool dude, man. Cool dude, always good to us. Yeah, he was somewhere up northwest. Is last time I heard from him. What about
I've been trying to look for him everywhere. I've tried to look for him everywhere. Google, Facebook, TikTok, nothing. Can't find him. It's like he fell off the face of the earth. He's got to be alive.
But he was an 8-year senior chief. Man, got out. He's like, deuces.
Dude, he made senior chief so freaking fast.
Yeah.
And he gone.
He called in right at the.
He gone. Yep.
There was an EW on the ship. I don't remember his name. It was a skinny dude, and he made E6 in 5 years because he came in as an E3 because of Eagle Scout, and then just EP on the evals, and then bam, bam, bam. All of a sudden, he's wearing E6 in no time, like crazy. But
you could make chief in 6 years if you fast
Now?
track. Yeah, well, you could then. We weren't smart enough. But I got a buddy.
I'm not gonna argue that.
Jesse Kreider, and he made chief in 6. But he scored like an 80 on the ASVAB, and he went bosun mate because that was his grandpa or something. I don't remember the story, but so you had a genius bosun mate, and he crushed it, man. I mean,
yeah.
So
there was a guy on the ship. He came in as deck seaman, and he left as an E5 House was his name.
Yeah.
And the
he
dude
Master
was like,
Chief.
I wouldn't doubt it. The dude
he
was like,
he has a gray truck, like haze gray truck, and it's got like chief stuff all over it. That's what he drove around in San Diego.
Wow.
You see him go by, hit the brakes. I know him. I'm like, hey, who are you?
I remember one guy. It might have been him. It had a whole number on the front of the truck, like whatever ship he was on. Was his whole number was painted on the front of the truck. It was a haze gray Ford truck.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay,
that's him for sure. He's still driving it. I guarantee.
We called that gay for the Navy back then, so I don't know if you can say that anymore. So let me ask you this question: do you happen? I've held on to a lot of stuff, physical things. Some stuff's stupid, some stuff's cool, but I happened across this thing, and I want to know if you remember this place because I got a story. It's one of my Norm stories. Do you remember?
Oh boy,
Carnegie.
Do you remember that bar?
It's in Hong Kong. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to say the other place in Hong Kong, but yeah, of course I remember that place.
I don't remember.
The Red Dragon is the one I thought you were going to bring up.
I wasn't there.
I thought that was in Thailand.
I spent my
not there.
inheritance there.
So one night I remember there was a lot of alcohol involved, and you were really known for headbutting things. And I told you, and you knew better, but I told you that post
I didn't.
Just called you a cracker. Just called you a cracker, and you got mad and you headbutted this like wooden post that was holding the thing up. And I was just thinking, I'm not going to ever do that again because you did not hold back. It was full headbutt into that thing, and it scared me for you. I thought you probably had a concussion after that.
Hopefully we're laughing about this while I'm in my nursing home at 60 with dementia and
drooling on this.
Yeah, traumatic brain injury. But yeah, that was I was trying to find myself phase, and I was trying to find myself, I guess, at the bottom of some sort of liquor or booze or beer.
I think we all were, man. I was too, you know.
Right.
I think we all were.
I was old enough to drink. Let's do it.
Did Carnegie's have like an upper level?
Yes.
Kind of like a catwalk.
It was
it would put
a New York style bar in
on
Hong Kong.
And it was cool, man.
Yeah. It was a pretty cool spot. Well, the second deployment we went back and it just didn't feel the same.
No.
But anyway.
It was probably identical, but
probably
you grew up a little bit.
Yeah.
One of my Norm stories is we were at some kind of house party. I'm not really sure where we were. But they had a fire pit, and someone bet Norm to put the fire out by throwing up on it. He did.
Embarrassing.
Oh my
enough,
God.
I've done that a few more times since then, but I've grown out of that in my 40s.
Dude, we had a lot of fun though, man. We had a lot of fun. It's probably.
That's back when everybody could party together. I mean, we had that Divo over there. Remember I can't remember his name, but his dad was like an admiral or something. And we pulled into Bahrain, and we had to go aloft, right? Standard going into port, you got to go up and do all your loft checks. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I want to go up there. It's like 130 out, and we're doing Spook 9 checks in the radome. And he was up there for like 5 minutes, like,
I'm out of here.
I'm gonna go back to my. I'm gonna go check on something. I'll be back. Yeah, right, Jack.
I hated that dome. I hated that dome, man.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was up above Pilot House doing that very thing, and you could see a wall of fog, and we were headed right into it. And I said, "Get down, let's go now," because I don't know even though it says there's people aloft, don't blow a horn, I have a feeling they're about to blow this horn, and we're standing right there on the pilot house.
You got some boats and like ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
And I'm hollering down, "Do not hit that! Do not hit that!" And as soon as we got hit the deck, the next deck down, boom, I'm like, man, if we'd have been there, and thank God I've thought about it, in advance. So that may be where the tinnitus is from.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Norm. Since you were in for 23 years, you said 23.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the Navy in 97 when you went in to when you got out? What's the biggest difference?
I think on our first deployment, do you guys ever remember going out like you had to go out with somebody else?
Yeah, buddy system. Yeah.
It depends on where we were.
Yeah, this like the new Navy is anywhere you go, you check out with a buddy, you have to return, you can't trade buddies in the middle.
Oh wow.
It got pretty wild. I mean, I remember waking up in some town in Australia, like there was a separated boat. It's one of those, or McKay, right? But they had like bushes in the median, and like I tried to jump over it and I fell into the bushes, and I'm just gonna take a nap, woke up, it was raining in the morning or something. But they would send out a search party nowadays, like, where's your buddy? One person would go to mass, like I'd be in trouble.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I remember we'd leave with a buddy, but we'd do whatever the heck we wanted when we got on shore.
Right.
There's
of course.
one time where I woke up on the beach the next morning, no one around. I actually asked the guy who was in Thailand. I asked the guy, "Hey, can you take me to the big ship?" Because we were leaving that day. He was like, "Oh, okay." And I had to give him some money, and he just on a moped hopped on back of a moped, drove me to the pier.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
the ship's movement nearly.
Yeah, the time is towards. So I got out. I'd retired in 2020. So we're kind of into the gay stuff and the transgender stuff, and it's bananas, man. And not to get too deep in it, but there was always gay people in the Navy, like right. We knew who was gay. Like nobody gave a damn.
They didn't make it a priority.
Well, it was don't ask, don't tell back then. So they weren't allowed to talk about it. Yeah. But they weren't allowed to talk about it. But they did.
But when that stuff stopped, they didn't start talking about it. They just did their jobs like the rest of us.
Right.
And, that's the shift from society. Like every gay person I knew in the Navy, I think 100%, like they were like the above average, hustling sailor. It's just bananas what it's become. But yeah, I got out at the tail end of that, and I think on my last destroyer deployment, we breathalyzed every time we came across the quarterdeck coming back from Liberty.
Oh my gosh!
Every 100% of the crew. If you blow above a 0.8 or above a 0.08 or above, you got a counseling. Like
a counseling.
Bananas. I never got one, so that's when I realized 0.08 means you are gone, Jack. You should never be driving.
Wow.
But you think about the kid that comes back toasted for the first time, and
it's more political nowadays, huh?
Yeah, it's everybody trying to cover themselves instead of. It's less about war fighting and more about being right, I guess. That's how I would kind of explain it.
It's more corporate, not military.
And that's the other side about destroyers, because it's a commander versus a captain.
Gotcha.
Commanders they're either know where they're going or they know where they're not going. So generally, they're always trying to get to that next level.
Trying to earn that next,
It makes sense, I guess, but
yeah. Well, let me speaking of earning, I want to ask you this question, and you may or may not have the answer. 9/11 happens. We go underway. We sit off the coast of Los Angeles and San Francisco for 2 weeks, whatever.
Right.
And then we go to, we left early, went to, Persian Gulf, sit off the coast. Whatever the river, y'all should know. You two for sure should know. The river that touches Iran and Pakistan, everything that came out, we boarded it, and then we went in the Gulf and did our time. But doing that, there's a ribbon or a medal that we should have gotten, and anybody who stayed in long enough got a ribbon or that medal. But because we got out before that that metal was ever really like sent out and established. Is there any way of getting that retroacted into our service record where we can officially have that?
You don't know what it's called?
I don't know.
Oh, then I'll
Is it
award it to you
Enduring
right
Freedom?
now.
Enduring.
There you go, John.
It was like
Here's the
Enduring
bullshit
Freedom.
medal.
Was it an Enduring Freedom medal or something? I don't know.
A
what
little
it's
peace
called.
sign on it.
I don't remember
Stripes.
I don't remember the name of it because I didn't get it. It wasn't around in 2003 when I got out.
It's got to be on our DD214 somewhere.
It's not, because
No,
I looked into
not?
it because it was not like my NAM is in there because they issued it to me, but they never issued that medal because it didn't have a name yet. It wasn't a design for it. Color.
I never got a NAM.
You can
It
have
sucks.
one of mine.
I
Man.
got the only reason I got
The
the only reason I got one is because I got out and they were glad to get rid of me and they gave me a NAM. That's it.
Jeez,
So-
I had so many ribbons I walked sideways, man. I'm a war hero.
There you go.
So there was Global War on Terrorism. There was two of them, right? There was like Expeditionary, which would have been like you were out there. Even I think you got the Iraqi Freedom was after us, after the second or third time we went in there. So whatever you want, I'll draw one up. I got some crayons and we'll get you something. You can wear it on the next podcast.
Yeah.
But it's important to you, right? So I find that
No, it's not important. I don't care.
It was important enough to bring it up.
Well, because I said, hey, we're bringing a guy on here. Does anybody got any questions? And I get questions, and I'm trying to give you. So some poor sap wanted to know if he can get his ribbons, and you just told him that you draw a crayon. So I'll make sure to get.
Oh no, I didn't know this was an official question.
That's a Norm answer, though. You know,
My gig line is
It's a Norm
here.
answer. That's a fact.
that's a Norm answer, man.
I am not disappointed. Norm is still Norm. That's a fact.
Yeah, I don't think there wasn't one. It was everything back then. You had to be on the ground or over the airspace, from what I remember. But
I mean,
if you figure out what it is, I can research it, man. I can tell you in 5 minutes what if you're eligible. It's very specific.
But so if someone is eligible, is that something that can be reinstated in their service record somehow? Kind of like with the.
So you kind of said two different things. You said was eligible and not awarded was the second one. The first one you said was it came out after we did it. So if the timeline doesn't line up, then the answer is no. And it's very specific. There's no ambiguities when they're talking about medals. It'll be like from this day, month, year to this day, month, and year. If you are territorial waters, on the ground, in the airspace, you're eligible. So
Okay.
But yeah, I could help you with that.
Okay.
I helped the client with he got a Purple Heart and he wasn't on his DD214. So I was like, is this important to you? Because it's a lot of work for me.
Norm's like, I got a purple crayon.
No, this guy he was battle hardened and wounded in a foreign country that we shouldn't have been in. But so I took care of it. It wasn't a big deal, but it was important to him, you know.
Well, I mean, you never know.
Who's on the Purple Heart? Is that George Washington?
Oh, geez,
No idea.
great question. Is this Stunt the Chump? I'll be the chump.
I do
don't
know.
know.
All you need is a purple crayon and a quarter.
I do know that they. I do know that they made all the Purple Hearts during World War II, and they haven't made any more since.
Oh, really? They must have like overestimated the amount of injuries.
Who is on the Purple Heart medal? George Washington.
Yeah. See, all you need is a purple crayon and a quarter. You'll be all right. Homemade Purple Heart.
No, I mean, for some people, like especially if
it's very important to some people.
It can be an
Absolutely.
issue if somebody's like in the VFW or if they, in Louisiana, you can get a license plate that says Purple Heart, recipient.
Absolutely.
And for some of those people, and it might be that he's the third generation that received a Purple Heart. For him, it mattered, So
Right.
I think
you're right on, man.
Yeah,
I made light of it, but I get it. Like just because it's not important to me doesn't mean it's not important to other people. Where the hell is my brain?
I think I've asked you all my questions. You got any more, Jay?
I do. I have one when it comes to your profession. Maybe you can, and actually, it's quite personal. I'm 30% disabled. I was 40, but the VA wanted me to come in for some kind of medical thing. I couldn't. I couldn't go. I had to work. And I was working a job then when if I didn't work, I didn't get paid. So I'm married with 4 kids. So
Right.
so they actually took 10% off me because I missed that appointment.
It sounds
I
like you had
tried to fight it. I
when you
tried
say
to fight it.
what you tried, what does try mean?
I actually filled out paperwork
Okay.
and I sent it in, and they sent back paperwork saying because I haven't been complaining about the injury, this, that, and so on, that it's not, even though I have a scar that's very, very big, and it does give me a hard time. It's still, they said, because I haven't been complaining about it, that they just took 10% away from me. So if somebody else is like in that certain situation and predicament, like I am, maybe it'll help them,
So anytime you get a notice to decrease or a intent to decrease, you always want to get a hold of a VSO.
Okay.
Like I say, go back to your state. If you're in the great state of Arizona, go to the Arizona Department of Veteran Services. But yeah, anytime you get that, they tell you before. They say, hey, we have the intent to decrease, and it's going to be in 60 days. You have the right to rebuke, or I don't want to get into the exact verbiage, but it sounds like you had this was a long time ago too, right?
Yeah.
We're talking 10 years ago.
Maybe 6 years ago.
Okay. So they wanted to do a follow-up on whatever your condition was, and then you didn't go. So what happens when you don't go to an exam? They make a decision based on the evidence in your file, and that evidence precluded. So let me give you an example of why they would decrease. So say I'm a Gulf War veteran, just like you guys are. Gulf War is from the beginning of the first Gulf War to now, and I've got like a cancerous tumor on my neck, right? So I apply for it. Head and neck cancer is covered as a presumptive condition for burn pit exposure, which is covered under where we served. So while I had active cancer, they put me at a temporary 100%. So I'd get 100% disability for a defined time, sometimes 6 months to a year, based on what type of cancer it is. So let's say they cut my tumor out. I'm cancer free, and I go down to 0 because I don't have a current chronic condition, right? Which is piece 2 of the puzzle that we talked about.
Right.
Now, if they cut it out and damage my trachea or my throat, and I had trouble swallowing, or they screwed up my saliva gland, I had trouble salivating, they'll pay you on residuals post cancer. The one we deal with a lot is prostate cancer for Vietnam guys because it's a presumptive. And I guess I didn't explain what presumptives are, but they are a condition based on your service location. And there's a laundry list of cancers and conditions for us. You guys make an appointment with me, we'll go over them line by line. But it's the same thing for Vietnam guys as well. They have the same presumptives, and prostate cancer is one of them. So they, just like I talked about, so say I've got active prostate cancer, I go to 100% for a year. They treat it with invasive chemo or whatever the case is. Now I'm cancer free, but I am getting up 5 times a night to pee. I've got to wear absorbent material. Then they pay you on the residuals.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a bad back that was service connected and you had surgery and your back was healed, which never happens when you get back surgery. So don't ever get back surgery. That's my advice. If they fix your back, your rating is going to go down if it gets reevaluated.
Gotcha.
And people don't understand that, so they'll submit an increase. But if the increase is for a condition that's not 20 years old, there's 3 ways it can go. They can award the increase, they can maintain the current percentage, or they can lower it based on your symptomology has gotten better. So there's always a danger every time you roll the dice with the VA, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Understood.
But without getting too deep into it, make an appointment, man. We'll go over it. super easy. I think I can send you guys both the link, or I'll do it in our little
Definitely.
chat
I'd
thing.
love to
I'll
get a
put
hold.
it. I'll
I'd love
put
to
it in the
get
show notes. So you
together.
gotta look in the show notes, and you can get his email. We'll do that. And
Yeah, will you let us do that? Put your email on our Facebook page. Norm?
Don't do my email. I'll send
Okay.
you the link. That'll
Gotcha.
work out better. But I'll
Whatever,
follow
yeah.
once we're done.
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I got one more question from for Norm. Already.
Yeah.
One more, brother. I think
We're fine.
Jonathan might have one too.
No,
But
I'm good. Go ahead.
let us know, bro. What's your favorite part of what you do now?
Oh, I do.
So when I retired, I chased money. I started as an electrical tech for a company called Insteel Wire Products, talking big welding machines, mega machines. You know, the one I was working on before I got this job, about a football field long, about half a football field wide, $10 million project. So I chased money. I was like, when you're getting out, you have no idea how much income you're going to make, right? So it's kind of
Right.
terrifying.
Mhm.
Retirement for a senior chief with 23 years, like $36,000 a year. So that's a
Wow.
significant. That's way less than an E5. Maybe.
I would think that it would be more than that. Wow, that's crazy.
The percentage of your base, right? So no
Yeah.
housing
No
allowance,
housing.
no comrades, no nothing.
Right.
So I chased money doing that for a while. And within 6 months, I was running a maintenance department. So 12, 14 techs, 16 counting the janitor. But I was making tons of money, and it's problem solving all day long in manufacturing. Like it just wore on me, man. Like technicians always live to fix problems, right? That's what we.
Mhm.
That's why we're technicians, right? But it just started wearing on me. I was driving 2 hours a day round trip, and my wife's like, stop bitching about it, bro. You don't have to work. Like you're choosing to work, and you're choosing to work there. So
Right.
about 2 years of that, I started looking for a new job. I talked to my director and my boss, which I respect a ton. My boss was actually a Nuke ET, super cool dude, one of the best guys I ever worked for. Directors from Turkey, but he's awesome as well. So I started looking for a job, and I trying to go right back into technical, and so I'd show Holly, and she's like, "Bro, that's what you're doing right now."
You're gonna hate it. Yeah.
She's like, "What are you trying to accomplish?" Like, so I saw this job opening as a counselor, and I was like, "What about this?" She's like, "You'll love that. You'll crush that. Do that." And you stewed on it. When your wife tells you to do something, that's like,
I gotta think about this.
Why is she being so helpful?
What's in it for her?
Oh, geez. But yeah, so back to your question, man. Sorry, I got sidetracked, but
No.
it's helping. I think the most rewarding piece is the surviving spouses who are, in their late 60s, up to 90, and they never caught on the computers, and this whole world is left some of those people behind, and then they've lost their husband, and you think about, say the husband's 100% disabled, that's $4,000 a month, give or take a few $100s. They lose their Social Security, and that stuff stops. Like unless there's a contributing factor from something they were service connected for. So helping those folks, and then of course talking with veterans, right? That's the only thing I miss about the Navy is bullshitting in the chief's mess or up in the radar room, playing cards. And what is it, radar? What was back at where we used to play cards?
4. That was my shot.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's the best part, man. Helping people that need help.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for what you do, bro.
Yeah.
What you do is huge.
Woo!
Truly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm doing it for all you guys, but I'm trying to make up my evil ways with the guy upstairs.
No, I remember one time there was I think his name was Miley, GM1 Miley. I think.
Yeah.
He got out. He left before, or he left the ship before we deployed. But I remember that guy was such a prick. Oh, it's so hard to deal with, and I remember a comment was made on the Fantail one time, and it just changed. At first, I thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but then as I got older, I understood. It's like the higher morale is, the lower the ability to fight the ship is. And I thought, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then I realized later on that it takes people who are willing to say that to a bunch of junior sailors, and it takes those guys that are good at leadership, bad at technicians, or that are really good at technicians, bad at leadership, and working together. So it takes every part of every personality type to make a ship work and make the VA work, make what I do work. It takes a little bit of every. I ride with a guy who's really good with the customers, with the members. I can handle them too, but I've been with guys who cannot handle when that lady comes out talking about my electricity, blah, blah, blah. They can't handle talking to them, but they're really good at what they do other than that, so
Right.
It takes everybody. So I appreciate you being a Norm.
Of course, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, well, I don't know. We'll get you on here some other time and tell some more stories without having to talk to VA stuff all the whole time. But I didn't want to inundate you with VA questions, but I wanted to see how you're doing and how life's going. Are you a papaw yet?
I am. I got 2 grandkids. They'll be here tomorrow. So my daughter, I only had 1 child, and she's got a boo. They're not married, but it's okay these times and these new times. But yeah, my granddaughter Nevaeh is, she's going on 3, and then brand new grandbaby, not even 1 yet. So they'll be up here tomorrow. They're staying the weekend and hanging out by the pool because it's still hot as hell. And
it was hot today. It was very hot. The hurricane's hitting Florida right now, and I'm not there, thank God. So
you fellas,
yeah,
it was 60 today and rainy.
Yeah,
I
don't
up here in the Northeast.
Are you still upstate?
Absolutely.
Jeez.
Yep. Do I like it? No. New York is a.
You knew he was going back, like New York this, New York that.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. It's a communist state now, I think. But hey,
yeah. I was up there with Pat Horan.
Man,
we went up to his parents' house for Thanksgiving one time. They're like up by the lakes.
Yeah,
it was cool, man. We had a good time. I didn't know you couldn't bury people in the wintertime up there because it's frozen, 4 or 5 feet down.
That's nuts.
That was cool, man. I think Pat's doing good. I haven't talked to him since he took all those pictures when we were jumping off the ship and emailed them to everybody.
I talked to him when we were first putting this all together, and I talked to him, and he's working in the yards in Norfolk, helping with ships and stuff.
Jeez, can you imagine going back to that?
No.
I don't know what it was he was doing, but
nothing. I'm
found another picture of you, Norm. I found another picture of you. I think you were kicking a door shut, which makes sense.
Shut, huh?
Yeah.
Where are you getting all these pictures?
Jeez, man. Same shirt. Huh? What? I was probably, it looks like smoking something in there. You guys gave me some chew one day. Almost killed me.
I remember that.
I was like, woo!
Who was that poor kid that used to sit next to you in C school? You always used to stand up, walk over to him, and slap him in the back of the neck, and then sit back down.
Do you remember that I would do the jousting? Like I had a horse and I
yes,
was really sick, knock over like pubs.
We had our pubs, our books like standing up on our table. And Norm used to grab like I don't know if it was a broom or a mop, but it was probably a broom. And he used to put it under his arm. Put under his arm like it was a jousting, and he used to and just knock all the books over. And the guy was like, "Come on, Norm, you son of a."
This is why I'm working with veterans and making right all the wrongs that I've done in my life, one joust at a time.
Well, Norm, I appreciate you coming on and talking and giving us a little bit of time.
I do too, my old friend. It was good to see you.
Yeah, man. You guys, whenever you do the Val reunion or whatever, I got a bunch of stories for him, and
right.
Some of them might be graphic, but I can tame them down and G-rate them. But
love
you guys, man. I'm glad you're doing
too,
good.
man.
Reach out and set up an appointment with me. We'll take care of you.
I definitely will be setting an appointment, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Right. All right, man.
See you.
Peace.
Oh, you guys gonna hot wash?
The smoking lamp is out.